Hello everybody. This is going to be an interesting video. This will be uh, this video might have a short lifespan. Um, this video might get taken down. Who knows? I mean, I know I only got like 17 subscribers, but still, you don't know these days. You don't know these days because of how YouTube operates. That's why I don't do reaction videos. Like normally, the normal type of format. I don't do that because YouTube is a very tricky system to navigate. So I'm not going to get into all that. Um, but before we start the video, let me make something clear. I am not talking about the war. All right, not talking about the war. I'm not talking about the Russian-Ukraine war. I'm not talking about anything about that. I will mention one part of it, but it only is to feed into my argument. Like the only thing I can say about the situation is that obviously it's tragic, and I hope that peace is found sooner than later. Obviously, and obviously it should never have happened in the first place. So, um, but this channel is called Cinema Folks, and I talk about things that I find interesting and are also worthwhile to talk about. And I'm surprised that nobody else has been talking about it. I usually go to a couple of what I would consider reputable sites or channels, YouTube channels, and not one person's talking about this. Not one person is talking about this, and it's interesting to me. It speaks a lot to me. I think it's one or two things. One, it's because people have a certain viewpoint, or two, it's that people are very scared because of how YouTube has been acting lately with any Russian-related material that's posted or talked about or discussed. It's very sensitive times right now, and I understand the what is it the scare of putting out anything that has anything remotely to do with Russia. It could have nothing to do with the current situation. Like, there's still a scare out there, so I get it. But let's talk about how cinema itself basically has been responding to this situation. And just to put it lightly, I think it was a bad idea. I think it was a poor move. Let's get into it. So this all started with WB, if I'm not mistaken, when they pulled their releases. Like the Batman was like coming out at that time, and they decided to pull the Batman from theaters in Russia, as well as a couple of other things, just pausing their releases all in general. Then Disney did the same, and then Netflix most recently just quit Russia. They just said, we're not going to have our service play in your country no more, and basically just said, see ya. Also, if I'm not mistaken, they also paused all their productions, Russian productions. They all paused those productions that were in active development or in negotiations. All that. They just paused all of them. So, this is not going to be a long video because I think that my points are going to be pretty short and sweet. And they're obviously going to be divisive because some people, think a certain way, or some people are just very ignorant and they don't want to be able to, listen to the other side, But yeah, like I said up front, I don't think this was a smart move, and the reason for it is because of what it does to artists moving forward, Russian artists in particular, because if there's anything factual to what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, one thing is for certain: not everyone in Russia wanted the war. Okay, so so for anybody, because I've seen how everyone's been responding to this, it's beyond film and like 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 sporting events, just news networks in general. They're all putting a big blanket over it and calling it a day. And um, even though it's not that cut and dry, even though it's not that easy, war is hell for a reason. There's a reason why that phrase exists. It's not just because it's ugly, but because it's really messy. And by that means that there's a lot of gray to look at. It's not just this person said that or this person did this. There's a whole bunch of viewpoints within this situation. Um, this situation should not have happened to begin with, but it's not that easy. It's not just he or she said this or he or she said that. Like like we people know, like it's out there, it's in the news, and it's just common sense that there are a bunch of people in Russia who didn't want the war. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Russian artists, particularly filmmakers, who were not in support of this at all. So to basically put them under the blanket as well, what you're basically doing, and people don't want to admit to it, but this is basically what's going to happen in the future. Now, we're strictly talking about film here. And this is also going to lead into other stuff as well, like sporting events and other things that I had mentioned. This is going to lead to some kind of discrimination against Russian people, and I am not all for that. I do not like that at all, because, as I just mentioned, there are people who were not in support of this. There are people who are protesting. There are people who are trying to get their voices heard and get people to understand that, look, some of us were not wanting this to happen, and we are being condemned. We are being put in the same camp as these people over here, and our economy is collapsing. We can't we're trying to escape this whole situation. Like, there's a whole bunch of people who were not wanting this to happen, and they're being shoved in a certain direction, and I don't like that at all. I don't like that. It makes me kind of teary-eyed almost. I get kind of it makes me sick that some people just don't understand that that some people don't view things like let me calm down. Let me backtrack for a minute. Everyone has a different opinion and a different view on everything, and for you to put a blanket over it, that is just so ignorant, and that is actually doing things in some ways. That's actually making things in some ways worse. And speaking about film, first of all, let me talk about one thing about what Disney and Warner Brothers and Netflix, all these people, Universal also did it too. They just pulled their releases from Russia as well. Let me ask the film industry in general. What exactly did pulling those movies do for the war? What did they do? Do you think that somehow that not showing the Batman in Russian theaters was somehow going to benefit the war? Did you think that somehow not having Minions 2 play on Russians' big screen somehow benefit the war? What made you do that? What made you think that was going to help? It wasn't. It's a meaningless act, And the reason why they're doing it is because they don't want people to come and attack them because certain movies are playing in theaters in Russia. They don't want that. So, and to avoid all of that, basically not being reasonable and just, understanding the impact that they have, because the movies are not impacting this. Movies are not impacting the war. They're not. They're not going to impact the war. So, um, so for you to do this, thinking like that, this is going to help, it's not going to. It's not going to at all. Um, what it does is that for the film industry, what it does is that you are discriminating, or at least it is going to lead to discrimination towards Russian artists, and I am not for that at all. I saw videos online of not just not Russian artists, but just people in general from Russia who were not in support of this war, and just seeing the emotional stress and just how scared they are for their lives, and just so how uncertain their future is going to be. Like that made me really sick. That made me really upset, and in some ways still makes me upset because um, I, I don't like seeing um, how in some ways we have responded, and I don't like it. I don't like it. Um, and strictly again talking about film, I'm trying to keep my focus on film here. I don't like what this will lead to. I don't like that this will lead to Russian artists not being able to voice themselves, not being able to express themselves, not being able to have their work seen. Um, that to me, it rubs me the wrong way. Um, and hang on, my phone is ringing. Sorry about that, stupid telemarketer. Anyways, um, but where the heck was I? Uh, oh yeah. But yeah. So I don't like how this is going to impact people's voices, and just limiting them as artists. Basically, because how are they supposed to secure finance? How are they supposed to, um, you know, tell their own stories? And again, people who were not in support of the war. Like these are the people that I am talking about. How can you put them in the same camp as people in the? How are you supposed to put them in that camp of people? Why? How? That like because the simple answer is because people like the film industry and other people around the world, they don't wish to see the reality of war, which is that it is not that cut and dry. It is not that easy to figure out, and it is not that easy to point a finger to. It is not. Um, there is what started it, and then there's how it's going, and then there's the people um, within all of that, you know, and you can't just say this and that. It's not that black and white. Um, and just talking about Russia again, there are protests, there are people out there. Again, go online, go on TikTok, go somewhere, go online and find these videos. There are people out there who are afraid for their lives, not knowing what their future is going to be, afraid that they'll never see their families again. Um, like this is where they're at, and you have to think about again, talking about film again, like think about the Russian artists, think about all those people who want to tell their story, people who wanted to express themselves, and this is the only medium that they can do that. We basically just said you're not, no one's going to see that work. Nobody will see that. Nobody will, because you are Russian. It's called discrimination, guys. It's called discrimination, and I've seen it already happening. Not just in the film industry, but in other places too. I just saw a sporting event where a certain person was not going to play with any Russian players. Again, throwing a big blanket over it all because nobody wants to actually understand the whole situation. They just want to read headlines or go off of certain assumptions, and that's that. Then nobody actually wants to actually commit a little bit more thinking and actually realize that it's not that easy. Like, again, I'm not acting like I know what's going on with the war. I don't know squat about the war. I'm a film guy. I don't know anything about the war. I only know certain information. I only know um, that it is that I have enough common sense to realize that that it's not that cut and dry, and I cannot say like oh this or oh that. The only thing I can comment on is that obviously this shouldn't have happened at all. That's the only thing I can say, and I think that everyone can agree on that war in general should never happen. Um, and that this particular situation that's going on is it's disgusting, and it's it's tragic. I mean, there's no other words to use for it. Um, but um, but to say that everybody in Russia is of a certain mindset, that is being very ignorant. That is also creating other problems that will come later. Okay, and that's what ticks me off, and that's what. But when we're talking about film, again, we're talking about film here. We have to bring up the Russia and Ukraine war to some degree because it's a part of the conversation. Um, but um, but but like imagine if you're in Russia right now, right? If you're a Russian artist and you are not in support of this, like I cannot imagine the frustration, not only just personally with your family and with just having to, like the uncertainty of just knowing if you're going to survive all this, like that's how incredibly uh, stressful it is right now. Like to like I can't even like also creatively like creatively speaking also like it has to be so damning. It has to be so upsetting to realize that you may not be able to do this. You may not be able to express yourself ever again. You may not be able to secure finance. You may not be able to do the work that you really want to do because of this situation. That has nothing to do with you. You are not in support of this. But because you live in Russia and because you are a Russian, you get thrown in this pool. And I don't, that it's called discrimination. It is absolutely discrimination. And people who don't, who say it's not, they're just being ignorant. They're also being highly emotional. They're not thinking reasonably. Um, so, um, and again, I'm talking about the film industry. I'm talking about how this impacts artists. And I'm talking about how this impacts people in general. Like, how is anybody in general supposed to how is anybody supposed to get their foot in the door, um, like as a production designer or a cinematographer or an actor even, or a screenwriter or a freaking editor? Like, how are these people supposed to get their foot in the door? They're not going to get that privilege. They're not going to be able to have that chance, unfortunately. And that's what really makes me upset. And that's what makes me more upset is that nobody is talking about that. Nobody online is talking about how all these artists' voices are going to be eliminated, essentially, or limited. I hate that nobody is talking about this. At least in the film industry, in the film world, the film community, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about in general because obviously there are bigger issues afoot. But I'm talking about the film community itself. Why aren't we talking about this? Why aren't we talking about all these artists, all of these people? Why are we not talking about this? Are you just highly emotional? Are you just afraid that YouTube is going to take down your video? Because I'm pretty sure YouTube's going to take down my video. Are you just do you have a certain bias? Why is nobody talking about this? because that is what is going to happen, guys. That is absolutely what is going to happen. And I'm not in favor of it. I'm not in favor of limiting people's voices just because they are from a certain country. Like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I don't want to hear that oh, this is a temporary thing, that they're not, they'll eventually release again in Russia. How do you know? How do you know? How do you know that that's going to happen? How do you also know that this is, like, how can you be so ignorant in thinking that this is not going to impact anything? It absolutely is going to impact a lot. It is going to impact so much creatively, and also so much in terms of the film, in terms of people's voices in the film industry. It's just going to, and I'm not in favor of that. I am not in favor of it. It's the same argument that I had with, or at least a similar argument to the Oscar situation. I am not for limiting people's voices. I do not care what you think. I do not care your viewpoint on somebody's job or somebody's whatever. I don't care. They deserve to have their voices heard and tell their stories, because at the end of the day, people, it is just stories. All right, and like if you can't stomach their story, then don't go watch their movie. It is that simple. But you don't get to say nobody's going to watch your movie. That's not cool. Okay, and I'm not in favor of that. I am not in favor of telling all those people who did not want this situation to happen. I am not in favor of telling all those people, F all of you. Like, I'm not in favor of that. And I know this is a big rant, and I know that some people are probably going to look at me and say, oh, you're just some film guy, you can't really comment on Russia. I'm not commenting on Russia. I'm not commenting about the war. I'm not. Again, I don't know squat about the war. I don't know anything about the war. I only know the common sense when it comes to war, okay, which is that it is filled with gray. There are so many shades of gray, okay, when it comes to war. Matter of fact, let me pull up a quote, or not a quote, but something that I wrote on Instagram. This was actually directed towards the war, but I phrased it in a way to where it was like kind of interpretive. But this is what I said. I said, it's easier on ourselves to assume. There's nothing more relaxing than ignorance, but it's more rewarding and important to understand. And unfortunately, the journey to gaining such knowledge carries many shades of gray. That, my friend, is what war is. It is not just, point the finger there, point the finger there. It's not like that. It is, there are so many viewpoints to this, and there are so many angles you can take with it. It's not that easy. But everyone can sit and agree that this should never have happened to begin with. And I will absolutely be like one of the leading voices on that yes, this should not have happened. This should not have happened, guys. So I don't want to hear anybody say that, oh, he supports this or he supports that. I don't support anything. The only thing I support is peace. That's the only thing I support. I support a peace, and I hope that peace is found sooner than later. That's what I support. What I do not support is getting rid of people's voices because of a situation they had nothing, that they had no attachments to. Oh, but they're Russian. What do you think that means? Oh, because they're Russian. What does that phrase mean to you? I think it's called discrimination. And that is what we're going to be seeing a lot of in the film industry and beyond. And I'm not in favor for that. So, yeah. So that's my little rant on this whole thing. I think it's ridiculous I think it's absolutely ridiculous that that people are being it's amazing to me that people are assuming so much, and um, and they're not willing to just use common sense. Because the only thing I can comment about the war is, like I said, it's a tragic situation, but within war itself, it is not that cut and dry. There are so many shades of gray. So you cannot say good guy, bad guy, this and that. You cannot just say that to this or that because they come from a certain place. You can't do that. You can't assume, okay? And a lot of people are making assumptions about a whole country of people, which is absolutely wrong. Not everyone was in support of this war, guys, and I don't like how I don't like uh, I don't like what I think will be one of the outcomes. Hopefully, an outcome. Hopefully, this war ends soon. Um, but yeah, I am not in favor of what's been going on in the film part of things. Again, I can only comment about the film stuff, um, but yeah, Netflix, Universal, WB. What, what was all this going to do towards the war? Nothing. Nothing. It's meaningless. It's all meaningless. All these bans, all this stuff, it's all meaningless. The only thing that it does is create an eventual discrimination. In my eyes, that's what I think this is all going to do, and I'm not in favor for that. So that's my thoughts on that. This video is probably going to be taken down because YouTube is not wanting to. They don't want to hear certain comments about certain things, or even though it's strictly film, even though we're talking about film here, like obviously I had some views expressed on this video, but they all correlate to film. We're talking about artists here. We're talking about how this impacts the film community and the film industry as a whole, and just what it means to have a voice, and the power of said voice, and also the power that all these industries have, and how disgusting it is to see how they've been using said power as of late. So, yeah. So that's my thoughts, guys. I can go on forever, but I'm done now. So, thank you guys for watching, and you guys let me know your thoughts, depending on how long this video is still on YouTube. But you guys let me know your thoughts, and yeah. Again, my heart goes out to everybody in Ukraine. Hopefully, this war ends soon. And to all those in Russia who are not in favor of this war, obviously, I hope that you find a way to find your own peace and to find your own way out of this really messy situation. It's a really scary time for a lot of people, and I sincerely hope that this whole situation is over with and we find peace sooner than later. That's the best phrase I can use. I hope we can find peace sooner than later. So yeah, because I'm all about peace. All love, no hate. So yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Hope you guys can understand where I'm coming from. Again, don't assume things. Try to understand it, and then you can try to form an opinion later. So yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see how long this video lasts on YouTube. So yeah, that's it, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.